Myself and John put together a top 5 teams in week 1 of free agency list, and here's why we picked those teams. All right, John, let's get into our top 5 teams in free agency week 1, starting off with the team that's number 5 on your list, the Bills. John, why'd you take the Buffalo Bills as your number 5 team as the top team?
I mean, this was kind of hard for me to find a fifth team because there were a lot of teams that I felt like could have been number 5, but I went with the Buffalo Bills just because they they filled the needs that they needed. Like they were in the middle of the pack for pass offense. They needed a true number 1 receiver. They went out and traded for DJ Moore of Chicago. I love it. I love it. They were the 28th run defense last year. They bring in edge rusher Bradley Chubb to help with that, and he can get at the quarterback for quarterback pressure. And they also brought in cornerback D. Alford as well to help their defense. I think Buffalo did just enough to fill their needs to be number 5 on my list.
Now, John, my number 5 team we do have on this list as the same, so I'm going to save that team for last to talk about. So I'm going to skip to my number 4 team, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. So far, the Dallas Cowboys, they are making moves and spending money. The exact thing that Jerry Jones said they were going to do in free agency. Every time Jerry Jones says something, he seems to do the opposite. He seems to do the opposite of everything he says. Before free agency kicked off, he said, we are going to spend money, we are going to build this team, and we are going to make big moves in free agency. You went out and traded for Rashawn Gary. You went out and put the salary cap hit or the franchise tag on George Pickens. You are making moves and spending money, like you said. Hats off to the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones for doing exactly what they said. John, with that being said, number 4, the Panthers is on your list. Why did you put the Panthers on your list at 4?
It's just like the Buffalo Bills. They had a mid defense. That was, to me, their biggest hole, and they filled it. They brought in edge rusher Jalen Phillips and linebacker Devin Lloyd. They are taking the steps to build this defense to get them past the 8-9 mark and to give them an over 500 record. They're building up the defense to basically try to repeat as the South champions and make the playoffs. They're going the right steps. They filled their holes. That's why they're number 4.
All right. My number 3 team, again, skipping over because my 5 team is the same as your number 3. So I'm going to skip over to my number 3 and we'll go right to your number 2. First off, Drips in the chat. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here at the Huddle Hub podcast. Thank you so much. The New York Giants is my number 3 team on my list. They're building their defense. I love the addition of Tremaine Edmonds. I do. I love the addition of Tremaine Edmonds. Why? Because he's going to be able to help out that linebacking core with Brian Burns. Brian Burns coming in a trade last year. We've seen the Giants defense take some step forwards last year. The offense obviously took some steps forward as well with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. Tyrone Tracy didn't have too bad of a year. Malik Neighbors, before he got injured, was having a pretty decent season. The Giants were taking those steps forward. Now they add Tremaine Edmonds to the mix of that linebacking core. I like this move for the Giants, and this is one of the big reasons why I put the Giants on my list. John, you have the Tennessee Titans on your list. Why the Titans?
That's number 2. Why? Because the Titans, I feel, added a lot of key pieces that could be contributing. I'm going to start mainly on offense because they were 31st in the league on offense. They were 30th in the league in passing. They had Rondale Robinson to go with Calvin Ridley. That's going to be a great 1-2 punch. And to help that defense, they bring in John Franklin Myers, who people thought were going to go with the 49ers. But at the last second, pivoted, went with Tennessee. Bring in Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott at cornerback to secure their secondary. I love the move the Titans are making, and I feel like this really going to help move their win total up past 3. They're making the steps they need to make, and they're moving forward.
All right. I have the Bears as my number 2. I'm just going to say this right now. They are going out to getting the players for their position as needed. Okay. The Bears, they took a significant step forward in 2025, and I think they are taking some small, significant steps forward for 2026. And I think we are going to see a better Bears team in 2026 than we've seen in 2025. John, you had the Jets on this list. Why the Jets?
Because I don't think any team has made a bigger splash in free agency than the Jets did. They filled all their needs. They did the best they possibly could to fill their needs. They had the 25th defense last year. So what do? Trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. Bring in David Onyemata. Bring in Demario Davis. Bring in Joseph Asai to secure your linebackers, your edge rushers, and get a good secondary safety. You need help at quarterback. What do? You bring back Geno Smith. Is this going to be the same Geno Smith we saw in Seattle? I don't know. But let's be honest. Other than Aaron Rodgers, they haven't had a solid quarterback since Geno Smith. And that's not saying Geno Smith did a great job as the Jets quarterback. He only lasted 3 years with the team. That's just saying the other quarterbacks, they were not very good. So I like them bringing Geno back. A low-cost trade to at least put a Band-Aid or put something there until they get their quarterback of the future from the draft or wherever they get their quarterback from. Because let's be honest, I feel Brady Cook, he looked like a deer in headlights. He is not going to be the guy there in New York. He's not their future quarterback. Bringing in Geno at least puts a Band-Aid on it for at least this year until they can figure out what they're going to do, or if they already have a plan, until they implement it and get the young rookie they draft ready. So I went with the Jets because I feel like they really, really outdid themselves with who they brought in.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are on my list at the top because of one reason, and that is Michael Pittman Jr. I loved this trade for them. Michael Pittman Jr. is going to do one thing, and that is take a lot of the weight off of DK Metcalf's shoulders. He is going to help even out the offense in Pittsburgh. I know there's questions of who's the quarterback, who's going to be the guy under center. Is it going to be Will Howard? Is Aaron Rodgers going to come back? Are they going to draft a guy? Are they going to pick somebody up off of free agency? Who knows what's going to happen at quarterback? Right now, I don't think that's much of the matter. They have DK Metcalf. They have Michael Pittman Jr., Pat Freiermuth at tight end. They have Jaylen Warren in the backfield at running back. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense, I think, looks a lot better than people think they do. And Michael Pittman Jr. in that addition is going to do really good things for Pittsburgh this year. He's going to produce, and whoever's at quarterback has a good receiving core they're walking into. So, hats off to the Steelers for making that move and getting Michael Pittman Jr. John, the final team to talk about is the Las Vegas Raiders, the only team that is on our list together at the same spot, because I had the Jets on my bottom. You have them on the top. We both have the Raiders on the top. So, John, why do you have the Raiders on top?
Because they are setting up their team for the future. They had a mid defense last year. It was the middle of the pack. So what do they do to try to get in that upper half? You bring in Quay Walker, Arian Johnson, and Nakobe Dean. The offense, they had the 32nd offense in the league. Okay. What do? Get rid of Geno Smith. He was doo-doo for them. You bring in Tyler Linderbaum, one of the best centers in the league, to help protect. We all know it's going to be Fernando Mendoza, to help protect your rookie quarterback. You bring in receiver Jalen Naylor. He was never the guy in Minnesota because they have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, but he's shown flashes that he could be the guy somewhere else. So I love him finally getting the chance to show what he can do. I feel like they're really building for the future. They're really trying to make those steps forward. And I think they're heading in the right direction. I really like their moves. That's why I have the Raiders at number 3.
Yeah, I have them on my list because they built their defense. They built their defense in free agency, and they were able to spend money doing it. Yeah, a lot of question is why Nakobe Dean for the small price that they got him at? Because Nakobe Dean still has to live up to that first round pick. He still needs to live up to that. Did he do it in Philadelphia? To a slight extent. He dealt with injuries in Philadelphia. He's still got to live up to that. He could still earn bigger paychecks in the future. He's a young player who has a lot of time left in this league. So we can end up seeing Nakobe Dean, if he does do so, live up to that expectation, get more money. But right now, he's earning what he's earning because of the fact of still having to prove. You look at this Raiders defense right now, and on paper, it looks like a top 10 defense. It does. And it could end up being. They played it smart this year in free agency, going out and building their defense. They brought in a couple offensive guys, especially on the offensive line, as you mentioned. Now they're going to go out and get their quarterback, and it would not surprise me if we see more big moves by the Raiders going into week 2 of free agency and picking up players. There's a lot of receivers out there. Deebo Samuels, who can go out and be that Swiss Army knife of a player coming out of the backfield, playing on the offensive line at the tight end position, being a wide receiver, playing both inside and outside. You got Tyreek Hill, who, let's face it, he's slowed down a little bit, but he's still a fast guy. He's the cheetah for a reason. He could go out and make big plays. So there's still some room for the Raiders to fill in, and I think the Raiders are doing everything right in free agency. And that's why I would have to say the Raiders should be on anybody's list in this top 5. It should be on everybody's list in a top 5.
I agree. I'm really excited to see Taron Johnson and Eric Stokes in that backfield at the same time. I think that's going to be one heck of a duo that I know I would not want to throw against.
So, John, if you had to challenge a team on my top list, who would it be? Steelers, Bears, Giants, Cowboys. We both have the Raiders, so Steelers, Bears, Giants, or Cowboys.
Oh, that's easy. The Steelers. I feel like you bring in one guy and you're number one. I feel like you need to do more. That's just one guy. That's why they're not even in my top 5. All they did was really bring in one receiver, and it's like, to me, that doesn't justify being the top.
My challenge is the Jets.
Okay.
Again, like I said, we've seen this before. We've seen this before from them of building a great defense, but it not live up to its expectations. They're not focusing on their offense very much at all. They trade away their starting quarterback in Justin Fields to the Kansas City Chiefs. They get a 7th round pick in 6th round pick in 2027 for him. And now you're bringing back Geno Smith, who has had a not so long stint, and looking at his statistics, a little over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a little over 80% in rating and passing. Do I see Geno Smith being the guy in New York? Maybe. But I think their big focus point should be getting a quarterback in there to sit behind him and learn. Expect the Jets to have a bad season again this year, Jets fans. But Geno Smith teaching this said young quarterback, and make sure you're going out and seeing who's going to be available to come in for 2027. If I was the New York Jets, I would start focusing on 2027 already. I would start focusing on 2027, who's going to be available for you to go out and get, because it's getting to be crunch time. We're getting into the draft. Free agency is going to go by faster than anything. And whoever's left on that free agent list is going to be left there for the picking to bring in and fill in your spots and may not produce the way you want them to. I don't see the New York Jets doing much of anything in 2026, especially if they don't work on that offense. And again, the defense building, we've seen this before. We've seen it. And you need an offense. You can't just rely on that defense. So there's our top 5 list for week 1 of free agency. We'll be back next week